For three or more people.
3 more people. If it's like 2 people, then it'd be cheaper.
Right.
So if we get like 6 people going, then it would be a lot cheaper.
Oh yeah.
You want to go?
Sure. When you go?
We're probably gonna do this before the end of fall. So maybe like say when October, maybe
First week of October. It's nice foliage up here.
Oh really? Second week of October?
First week.
First week.
First week is really tops. Sometimes second week we still have good foliage though.
First week of October? Oh, we can't. That's right. We're going no, not first week of October. You're right. Yeah, let's say first week of October we're going to.
Stay over to your side.
They seem to like my side of the road, don't they?
Yes.
Very popular over here.
That'd be so cool. Look at that.
So you're looking down into the Great Gulf Wilderness here. Now, this enormous feature, this enormous valley, was carved out by a local alpine glacier. So, you know, when our climate was colder here up in New England, snow would accumulate on this side of the mountain as it does today. Now, back then, because of the cold climate, the snow did not melt from year to year. It just got deeper and deeper, and eventually glaciers were formed on this side of the mountain range, which are responsible for these enormous features that you're looking at out here.
It's so
These
beautiful.
big carved out bowls.
Yeah. Now, is there any caves?
Pardon me?
Caves?
Caves, there are here in the White Mountain region.
But not in this area.
No, not really. No, there aren't. I mean, there are some at the bottoms of some of these enormous ravines. You have the remnants kind of deposited by the glaciers as they melted of these enormous boulders called erratics, and in some cases they're piled up. You know, some of them are as big as a house, and they're piled up in situations that create caves, but not the type of cave you go inside.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
So you're going to hear on the way down, the engine's going to be working very hard. These vans have special gearing, so super low gears, the engine does the braking. Tap the brakes a little bit, so during a typical season we will not go through a set of brakes on one of these.
Wow.
I've seen people go through a set of brakes on one trip with their own car.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It was interesting to see the diesel locomotives on the car because I've never seen them before.
Oh, right.
It's always been steam that I've seen.
Yep.
And they use that periodically, don't they? The one steam engine?
They still do. The first trip of the day is steam engine. There's a lot of steam enthusiasts around.
Oh, that's for sure.
And sometimes when they get real busy, they'll run another trip sometime during the day.
I think
They kind of charge a premium price for it. This is getting to be a nice time of the day. You can see how the shadows lengthen, help to define some of the features of the mountains.
Wow. That's beautiful.
And what lake is that over there?
Well, it's
A reservoir?
that's a hydroelectric dam.
Oh,
It's part of the Androscoggin River,
okay.
which begins up in northern New Hampshire, way up on Lake Umbegog. And that river is a major watershed for Mount Washington, so much of the sediment that erodes off of these mountains flows out into the Atlantic Ocean following the Androscoggin.
Through Maine, doesn't it go through Maine?
Yes. Yep. Ends up in the Atlantic just east of Portland.
How come they look so serious driving?
Oh, they do, don't they?
Yeah.
You see a lot of leaning too.
Yeah. No one's smiling there, the
No,
drivers.
nobody's smiling.
No.
They're all in need of our counseling service.
And waiting till the time I got to the top. White knuckles the whole way up.
How long ago was this?
Baby.
So this is about what, maybe 18 years ago? Wow. So 18 years ago, this road was paved, correct?
No, it was paved.
It was paved?
Parts of it were paved.
Yeah, there was
Not-
more.
but not
more-
100% though.
No, there was
No, no.
more gravel.
More gravel than
Yeah.
paved.
No.
This section up here, just behind us, was just paved, I think about 11 years ago.
So I mean, 18 years ago, this whole nothing but gravel.
No, there was
Certain areas.
They started paving here, I think it was around 1960 or so, 65, somewhere around there. It's kind of a big no-no out there walking on the vegetation.
Mm-hmm.
These alpine plants are very, very delicate to the footstep.
Yeah.
You know, they can survive this incredible climate, but stepping on them does a lot of damage.
Oh, I know.
And they intend to pave this section?
This section, in fact, is on the docket to be paved later this week. They've done a lot of work here to widen this.
Yeah, definitely is wider than it was.
This was quite narrow through here, and they've put in better erosion control, water control. It's a big problem here. The deepest drift, snowdrift on this roadway is just down here along this section. Sometimes 25 to 30 feet deep right here.
It's a lot of snow. They get pictures of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a tunnel. They come up here and
Yes.
cut through it in the spring, and it's really an amazing project to get this thing opened in the spring.
There's a snow pole there.
Yeah, that one gets covered with snow usually. So the snowcats that come up here in the winter, as we get a snowpack accumulated on the road, we'll install poles along the outside of the road, and they can follow those poles. They're about every 10 feet apart. But I've got some video footage in the snowcat of coming up here, and you couldn't even see from one pole to the next.
Oh my gosh.
Really whiteout conditions.
Oh no, he's gonna have to get a new van. There's
Yeah,
not
really.
any room for any more
Make us
stickers.
start on the sides, I guess. Probably covering the rust.
Yeah.
It's a trick I used to
I
use.
never thought of that.
So over on the left is a great example of what geologists call folding.
Wow.
You see this
That's so cool.
rock formation?
Yeah.
What you're looking at are layers of mud and ocean sediment that were compressed and folded as the tectonic plates pushed together to form the mountain range. So you'll find that characteristic throughout the Appalachians, all the way down to Georgia.
Oh, there's the parking lot way down there.
Hey, wow.
Could you go to the right a little bit so I can get a better picture?
I like your attitude. I don't think anybody else does, but
Oh, I don't mind. Go for it. Hey, you know, it's just like maybe an inch closer to the tire. Be okay. You know, just, as long as we don't go over it, it'll be all right.
Well, I'll tell you, back in early July, people were hanging the edge. We had a car race here.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
They've been racing cars up this road since
way.
1904.
Wow.
Everybody's heard of the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. Well, this is the granddaddy right here. It's a time trial, so just one car at a time comes up. And let me tell you the current record, which was set in July, 5 minutes, 44 seconds. Yeah.
Oh my
And how
God.
many fell off?
We did have a few go off the edge, but there has never been a fatal crash
Wow.
in all the years of car racing here. You wanted to get closer to the edge.
There you go, Al. Unlock
Just to
his
make you
door.
happy.
We'll push him.
So, in order to come up this mountain in 5 minutes and 44 seconds, you would have to average almost 85 miles an
Oh
hour.
my
Can we go,
God.
go around these bends?
Yeah.
Short bends? Wow. Yeah.
And I know you folks are all familiar with YouTube on the internet.
Yeah.
Well, go to YouTube and type in Mount Washington Auto Road Car Racing 2017.
Wow.
And you'll
Okay.
be able to watch a video
2017. Holy shit.
of Travis Pastrana driving this 600 horsepower Subaru
Wow.
up the mountain at that speed.
Yeah.
His top speed was 116 miles an hour.
And he did that in the parking lot, probably, to get a good start.
That's pretty wild.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. These are rally cars, the fastest cars nowadays.
Now, did you drive it down, or did you?
No, they come down slowly. They all get to the top and then they all come down in sort of a parade.
Okay.
Not particularly fast.
Do they still do the bicycle race here?
Yep, that was held in a few weeks ago.
Okay. We had some friends that did it.
Is that right?
Up or down?
No, all of our races go up. The record for riding a bicycle up this road is about 49 minutes.
49 minutes.
Yep. And the oldest race here, or I should say, the first of the foot races or bicycle races is actually the running race. More than 50 years we've been conducting that race. It started out as just kind of a local event for people to see if they could actually do it. And now it's an international event.
I bet it is.
Get elite runners, and the top time for running up is under an hour, about 56 minutes.
Wow.
Oh. And it's uphill the whole way.
Up all the way.
Oh, the muscles would go. Oh.
But I'll tell you, that car racing is very exciting. I've seen 3 races here, and it's not an annual event. It's about every 3 or 4 years that we have the races. I get nervous just watching it.
I bet.
Do they allow spectators?
We take spectators up to several locations, one of which is that corner where I showed you the folded rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And they can stand up above on the rocks in different spots. They drift through that corner at about 60 miles an hour.
Do they have practice runs?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the top drivers, the real competitive drivers, come weeks in advance and they just drive the road during the day.
Oh, I'm sure they know it like one.
They don't.
Well, they try to, but you know, I've been driving here for 12 years, and I don't know how many thousands of trips I've made, and it's still not that easy to know every single corner and every nuance of every corner because it's such a complicated roadway.
And it could change with every rainstorm, right?
Well, the gravel section sure could.
Do you have an inspection team that comes up first thing in the morning? or-
Yes. Oh yeah. Particularly if as we get into fall and then again in the early season when we're dealing with colder temperatures.